Corey Perry, that sucks. Oh God, Corey Perry, don't ever come to the Rangers. Thank you. Sorry for your loss, but thank you. Sorry. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Glove Drop, the final episode of the Glove Drop of the 2021-2022 NHL season. Last night, the Colorado Avalanche defeat the back-to-back Stanley Cup champion winning Tampa Bay Lightning.
The seventh of the Avalanche are 2022 Stanley Cup champions.
They end Patrick Maroon's Stanley Cup streak of 3 in a row. They end the Tampa Bay Lightning streak at 2, and they extend Corey Perry's streak of losing in the finals during the Stanley Cup to 3. And yikes. I'm having, and everybody's probably having a better day than him right now. Maybe next year. Colorado took game 6. They won 2-1. And honestly, the only thing that would have made it better would be if they won at home, but I'm sure literally nobody on that team really cares. They're just like, oh, we won, and they're going to take it home. And I'm sure they're already all the way in the bag, not even half in the bag. I'm sure they're partying their faces off in Colorado. Congratulations to the Colorado Avalanche. They were the favorites going into this season, and they got it right this time. Well done, people who guess who's gonna win. Good job. What's so awesome to see is that this rebuild that Colorado has been doing for the past 5 years, it finally came to fruition. They were really bad 5 years ago. I think they were last place. However, the Colorado Avalanche managed to pull off what so many teams have been trying to do, and that is a rebuild that is not going to take that long. Like a 5-year, 4-year rebuild is not that bad compared to some other teams, and they got it done, and now they have the cup. And what's dope about this is that the Colorado Avalanche, since they moved to Denver, they have won every single Stanley Cup final that they've ever made an appearance in. 3 appearances, 3 wins, 96, 2001, and now today. So that's the only team, current active team in the NHL that's been able to do that. The Avalanche got a huge break this year too, because normally they're battling through injuries like none other, and they're always at the end of the season, always when it matters. And it was heartbreaking the last playoffs and the one before that to see, because they were such a strong team throughout the entire season and in the postseason, but they were just like ravaged by injuries, and you know, you hate to see it. However, this time around, they managed to stay healthy for the most part. So Colorado ended up playing 20 games total for the playoffs. They swept Nashville in the first round. It went to 6 games in the second round against St. Louis. They swept the Edmonton Oilers, and it went to game 6 in the Stanley Cup final. Of the 21 skaters, 12 of them played in all 20 games. And when the 12 players that play every single game in the postseason include Nathan MacKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, Cale Makar, like it's looking pretty good. There was one of their top players though who did miss 4 games. Nazem Kadri was out for 4 games, and no, it was not due to suspension. He was on his best behavior. This time around, he missed 4 games because in game 3 of the Western Conference Final against the Oilers, that stand-up wonderful gentleman, Evander Kane, threw a really dangerous hit on him. It ended up being a boarding call, and Nazem Kadri broke his thumb. He was out for 18 days. In those 18 days, he had to have surgery to repair his thumb in order to get back. If it was any other athlete and they had a broken thumb and they needed surgery for instance, basketball, it would be months of recovery, but that's because people who play other sports are not hockey tough. So Nazem Kadri, hockey tough, got through it. Nazem Kadri, as I said before, has a tendency of getting suspended. He gets a little hot-headed and he plays like an asshole. And you see that in players where their attitude kind of gets in the way of them being able to show just how talented they are. But this time around, despite the thumb, despite Evander Kane, he managed to get it all together. And Nazem Kadri is one hell of a freaking hockey player, like very impressive. And despite the fact that Kadri did only play in 16 games, he was still tied for 5th place among the team when it came down to points scored in the postseason. He had 15 points total, tied with Nichushkin and Taves. Both of those guys played 20 games. So imagine if Kadri had actually played all 20. I'm sure those numbers would have been much higher. Landeskog was in 4th place with 22 points. In 3rd, Nathan MacKinnon with 24 points. And in 2nd, Rantanen with 25 points. And your 23-year-old Conn Smythe winning, Norris Trophy winning, defensive powerhouse who is still just a kid, Cale Makar. He was unbelievable. Finishes up the postseason with 29 points, 8 goals, 21 assists. He has the most points as a defenseman. That is like the greatest thing in the world. And you know what's even cooler is that there is a short list of people who have won both the Norris and the Conn Smythe. And by short, I mean there's only 2 other people on the list, Nicholas Lindstrom and Bobby friggin' Orr. So Cale Makar is in some serious company. That kid is a stud. Now, this is Jared Bednar's first Stanley Cup as a head coach ever. He has led the Colorado Avalanche to the playoffs 5 times. Props to Bednar. He has put this team together in such a way. And one of the things that him and the rest of the organization did is they pulled in one player during the trade deadline that made such a difference. And that player is Artturi Lehkonen, the dude who apparently I look like. So thank you for saying I look like a guy, but I can kind of see it. But Artturi Lehkonen, he is the definition of a two-way player, and he's also Mr. Friggin' Clutch. Last season, with the Montreal Canadiens, Artturi Lehkonen scores the OT goal in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Final to send the Montreal Canadiens to the Stanley Cup Final, which they ultimately lost to Tampa Bay, but still, he sent them there. This time around, Artturi Lehkonen scores the game-winning goal in OT over the Edmonton Oilers, giving the Colorado Avalanche a 6-5 win and a sweep over the Edmonton Oilers to send them to the Stanley Cup Finals. And then he scores goal number 2, the go-ahead goal for the Colorado Avalanche, which would then also be the game-winning goal, which would also be the Stanley Cup championship winning goal. And this acquisition was really kind of not for that much. The Colorado Avalanche got Artturi Lehkonen for a defensive prospect, Justin Barron, and a second-round pick in the 2024 draft. So what a move. Big time move. Mr. Clutch. As far as goaltending goes, Darcy Kuemper really stepped up during these playoffs, but he did face an injury in the first game of the Western Conference Final. So backup goalie Pavel Francois has to come in. Not only does he have to come in and play in the Western Conference Final, he has to play facing 2 of the best scorers that the league has ever seen in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and he manages to put on such a performance and really hold his own. Huge for the Colorado Avalanche, because any shaking it up in goal, I mean, we've seen it, there are a lot of goalies getting pulled in this postseason, but Francois kept it all together and helped lead the Avalanche to that Western Conference Final sweep. And because he did such a good job, I know there was a lot of people who were surprised to see Darcy Kuemper in net to start off for this Stanley Cup Final. He managed to bounce right back from injury and just go into it. And that is what you need to do in order to win a cup. There is no getting in your head. There's no frustration. And we see that with a lot of other goaltenders. Jordan Binnington, we've seen it with Mike Smith. We've seen it with even Marc-Andre Fleury. So Darcy Kuemper really kept it together, and he finishes with a .902 save percentage, which, granted, Andrei Vasilevsky demolished that. Vasilevsky finishes, his postseason save percentage was .922. But that just kind of goes to show that you can't just win a cup on goaltending. You have to have that offense too. It's gotta also be out on the ice. And one of the things that the Tampa Bay Lightning really effed themselves with was special teams. Colorado was dominating, especially on the power play this entire postseason. They had a ridiculous 38.5% on the power play in the postseason. Tampa Bay was doing the exact opposite. Their power play percentage in the postseason was 19.8, which is very, very weak. Now, both teams were fairly even in terms of a penalty kill, but when you have that much of a disparity between power play percentages in teams, you cannot let the team with a 38.5 power play percentage get on the power play. And Tampa Bay has a difficult time keeping their head on, I guess you would put it that way. They get in there, they get frustrated, and they act like big babies sometimes, and it calls these ridiculous penalties that are just dumb on their part. And that was one of the biggest factors in what lost them their 3rd Stanley Cup. In this series, Tampa Bay went 2 for 19 on the power play. 2 for 19. While the Colorado Avalanche went 6 for 16. You cannot let a team with such a solid power play get on the power play 16 times and expect them not to run a train. And they ran a train, and they were able to really do great on the penalty kill, especially considering the fact that Tampa Bay's power play is trash. To me, it just seemed like Tampa Bay Lightning were not as fast at all. Colorado was skating circles around them, and I mean, I guess the altitude definitely helps, but it just seemed like Colorado had it together more. They were playing as more of a team, whereas Tampa Bay, they just did not seem to want it as much. Or it was because they have Corey Perry. Colorado's a scary team, man. Looking into next season, depending on who stays and who goes, Colorado is a terrifying team to play against, especially going towards next season in the playoffs. So I expect them to be continuing on this streak of being in the playoffs, and I would not be surprised to see them win another cup in the next couple of years for for sure if they keep this thing going. Big congrats to the Colorado Avalanche, and it's nice to see players like McKinnon and Rantanen and these guys who have really dug their heels in, who have been there for a while, and they really just grinded away throughout the rebuild. It's really nice to see them get, what they've worked for, and they definitely have worked for it. And the Colorado Avalanche are the 2022 Stanley Cup champions. Buddy, thank God it's not Tampa. That I would not even want to make a video if it was Tampa, just saying that. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed, who's been following me throughout all of these videos. This is the 3rd season I'm doing it. I really appreciate everybody for coming through. I love doing these. I'm not going to be stopping anytime soon, even though the season is over. There's plenty of stuff going on this summer that I'm going to be covering. The first being the 2022 NHL entry draft. That is on Thursday, July 7th, so it's starting next week. Montreal has the first pick, followed by the Devils, followed by the Yotes. And there's some big name prospects, guys like Logan Cooley, Slavkovsky, and of course the Canadian center Shane Wright, who has been turning heads all season long up in the OHLs. So that's definitely going to be an exciting draft to watch. I'm going to be putting up some videos just to get a little bit more in depth to each player, highlight what they've got going on for them and why the hell they are the top 3 prospects for this year. So those videos are going to be coming up next week. If you have not already, go and hit subscribe. Make sure you turn on notifications so you don't miss any of it. And if you want any more of the glove drop, you can always check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Instagram and TikTok are at the glove drop. Twitter? Twitter suspended me. Obviously, naturally, I made a new one. It's at Tara Shea Fitz, which is my name. But yeah, Twitter's definitely run by Pens fans because, I didn't say anything bad other than just trash the Pens. And yeah, so Twitter, sorry that the Pens lost, not my problem. I made a new account, so suck it. So make sure you guys go and check me out on those. Once again, thank you so much for everything. I will see you guys all in the next video. Congratulations, Colorado. And I'm going to start cheering for him now. Let's friggin' go Rangers next season. Let's go. Woo!